Good afternoon, everybody. This is your boy Sogi Kami coming at you loud and proud from an undisclosed location to talk about One Piece 1089. The title of this chapter is Hostage Situation. It starts with us catching up from around the One Piece world, with us learning about how the after effects of using the Mother Flame caused the world to shift. The exact quote from the official reads, "The earthquake on this day had no parallel in recorded history, and since the device that destroyed Lucia made a hole that's like Enies Lobby, we can assume that Enies Lobby was created in a similar way, and when that device was used, there was a similar earthquake." One thing I find very peculiar is the way that the whole world felt the earthquake at the same time, instead of the devastation having a rippling effect, starting with the islands that are closest to Lucia and shaking what's furthest from Lucia last. So if Lucia was in the middle of the Grand Line, it would shake the ends of East Blue and the West Blue, North Blue, and South Blue last. We saw sections of each Blue Sea. Laboon at Reverse Mountain, Iceberg, who is related to the ancient weapon through Tom and Frankie, Hina, Momonosuke, who is also related to the ancient weapon in an undisclosed way, and Imu, who fired the weapon itself. So I feel like there is something to read between the lines about who we have seen, but I haven't been able to put it together as of yet. Maybe Odin wrote something about how strong Uranus or Pluton is in his logbook. I am not sure. We also see Ivankov react, and as of recently, we know that Ivankov has been someone who knows a lot about the Void Century and Imu, so there could be a connection there as well with all the people who we see reacting to this earthquake made by this weapon powered by the Mother Flame. We see an undisclosed party try to sail towards the hole where Leloucia once was, and they say that they couldn't get any closer. To me, that implies that if they were to move closer, they would be pulled in and they would fall to the bottom of the hole. I'm interested to know what is at the bottom of the hole and the hole in Enies Lobby. Maybe they lead to the same place. This hole reminds me of Big Mom and Kaido, who were pushed into basically the center of the earth. So I wonder if those things are connected as well. The chapter moves on to Egghead Island, where we learn that the Navy has sent a Buster Call-sized fleet to fight the Straw Hats and kill Vegapunk. Unfortunately, the Mechanical Sea Beast and the Pacifista are keeping the fleet at bay for now, while the Marines are deciding what to do as they try to gather information about CP0 and how the battle against the Straw Hats is going. Borsalino and Sentomaru have a history, but are fated to be at opposite ends. Borsalino mentions himself being a cog in the machine and being unable to stop the death of Vegapunk, although they had a relationship, and Vegapunk used his powers to make the Pacifista. That gives us an understanding of who he is as somebody who follows his orders and chooses not to overthink what they are, which makes what will happen later more interesting. This also reminds me of Sanji, as in his fight with Queen, he had a similar moment of wanting to be somebody who wanted to only follow Luffy's orders and be a killing machine. Maybe there's a parallel there, and that's kind of the reason why I think Borsalino and Sanji are fated to fight. We catch up with Saturn as he mentions that he doesn't want anyone to know that he is on the boat. Saturn is reading the Morgan's article from this morning, and it says, "Straw Hat crew barricades itself in the with Vegapunk as a prisoner." The Vice Admiral then goes to explain that everyone is in the Labrio phase of the island and Sentomaru is defending from the outside. Saturn asks about the island researchers and gives an order to sink any and all escapees. He does outright say that Bonnie is allowed to live though, and he makes no order for the Straw Hats to die as of yet. The orders right now are only for the deaths of the Vegapunks. During the last part of the chapter, York makes a call to Mary Jo Gorosei and is being listened to by Saturn and Borsalino. York admits to betraying the Vegapunk and asks why they would want to kill her. Because the Mother Flame worked out for them, they decide that they will actually keep York alive and will agree to make her a Celestial Dragon. All they have to do is keep the lab around so that York can work there. The Gorosei hint at a higher power pulling the strings as well. And finally, in the last page, it is revealed that the Straw Hats have overcome York and are actually holding her hostage, getting all the information that basically the Gorosei has mentioned to York at this point. This comes as a shock to all of the Gorosei and Borsalino. So now the Straw Hats are aware that the world government only wants them dead because of Vegapunk, looking into ancient history, but the power of Mother Flames is important enough to overlook York's crime. In the last spread, we see 9 out of 10 of the Straw Hats, sans Robin, chilling listening to York confess her situation to the Gorosei, and to top it off, Rob Lucci is chilling with the bunch, along with Bonnie and the Stella, Vegapunk. Hopefully, we get a flashback to fill in the holes left with this time skip. Last time we saw the Straw Hats, they were fighting the Seraphim, and Usopp and Frankie were also turned to stone. Unfortunately, we have a break next week. for 1090, so 2 weeks time, we will be back at the Straw Hats and figure out exactly what's going on. We haven't seen what Blackbeard Pirates are up to in regards to Egghead yet either, so that will be interesting to see if they show up in the next chapter as well. I think this chapter went really well. I feel like this chapter is a pretty decent setup. I would have wished if they didn't skip what's going to happen next, but it feels like what we will get is maybe some fights and some moments that'll call back to earlier in the arc that'll fill in the gaps of our information, and that could cause us motivation for some characters to get a future power-up in some way. I'd like to see Frankie with some type of Vega power-up. We see that Nami has a gun in this chapter, so Nami has a power-up of some sort. I've never seen Nami with a gun before. It could be a Vegapunk weapon, and we could see exactly what happened with Bonnie, which I think would be really interesting in and of itself. Thank you for watching this chapter review, and I'll be back 2 weeks' time. Make sure to like and subscribe.